Hello and welcome to the Dits on Wrestling podcast, the Raw and AV's only pro wrestling pod, part of Project Dits. We carry on with the GM mode today, and I am joined with my opposition, if you will, Raw General Manager, Anthony. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me once again, as I'm a regular co-host here, but for all intents and purposes, yeah, your blood-feuded enemy. We are continuing to do battle in this GM mode, this series. I'm doing all right. I'm hot. It's still hot here in New York. This heat wave is relentless, and I'm extremely uncomfortable. I'm also kind of uncomfortable in, kind of where I've reached with my booking because I'm stressed, but it's a good time, and I'm excited to do this episode.
I can relate. I DM'd you today. Because I always do we obviously record on Saturdays, both shows, and I sat down in the morning, did everything. I think it took me about an hour and 30 minutes to do all of my booking, and as the day went on, it was playing on my mind. I was just like, I don't think I'm happy with that, and then just throughout the day, I was just breaking it up. I was like, this is really starting to stress me out. For something that's not that important, it was stressing me the fuck out.
I did it last night. So again, this is Saturday, so I did it all Friday night, and then I had to go into the office today, and so I'm always listening to music, and on the train ride in and the train ride home, I had music playing, but in my head I was just like, no, I've got to change that. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. And I was like, no, that would be better. And I was typing things I felt like I was yeah, I did the same thing. I was like, yo, I might have a problem. Yeah, it's just we spoke about it on last week's episode for both of us, So last week, for each of us, was episode 2. If you haven't listened to those episodes, go back and listen to those episodes so you can catch up. Actually, you should start at the beginning. Go to the draft, hit episode 1, hit episode 2. They're genuinely awesome, and we're not just saying that because we created them. They're a good time. But episode 1 was obviously the kind of putting the wheels in motion of the direction we wanted our shows to go in leading up to Summerslam. And then last week was the transitional period for each of us, and we both spoke offline and then during each of our episodes about the difficulty in getting that transitional period and how to we put the wheels in motion episode 1, but now in episode 2 it was laying the concrete foundation of where you're going from there. And I thought that would be the hardest thing, but then this episode was I think I'm going to say this every week. I'll be I thought last week's was the hardest, but this one was now. This one just became, okay, now you've, put the wheels in motion. Last week we laid the foundation and started to build, and then this week is the core structure of the house. Now you're reaching those points of no return where everything, not that everything didn't have to make sense before, but now you're really this has to be on point. Here we go. It's not you can start building the house and then be nope, it sucks, let's tear it down. They'll be no, we've already been building the walls are up. We can't do it. This is the walls of Jericho. But no, this is the walls of the house, I feel this week. And it was, once those walls go up, you're almost at a point of no return. And I'm still having a fucking blast. You and I both spoke about that, how fun this has been and how awesome it's been. But yeah, it's definitely been I just find myself staring at blank pages of notebook paper. My fiance being are you okay? And I'm yeah, I'm trying to be creative. Stop looking at me.
Stop paying me attention. Stop it. I think having just the 5 weeks and then actually having to book SummerSlam on top of that as well. So technically 6 weeks. Yeah. That's not easy. That's not easy. And that's the problem I face, and you will see it firsthand on Friday night when you hear my show. It's there's a lot of stuff that is happening where usually you wouldn't see that for at least a month or 2 down the line, but you just have to get everything into place. And you either go, I do it now or I do it next week, but next week it doesn't make any sense because we're only a week away from SummerSlam, so I have to do it now, but it doesn't marry up to what happened last week. It's too fast. Why is it moving so fast? But I can't do it. I can't turn back. And then
I've already done this. I can't go back to that now. Good Lord. Yeah, you're just standing on your roof in the rain, screaming at the sky. Wah! How did I get here? But no, yeah, it's
why did I deserve this?
I don't deserve
It's
this.
like you're wearing a white ripped shirt and you just it's just stuck to you and see from
So what? How did I get here? Why? But yeah, that's like because we are condensing it into the 5 weeks, and then at the same time we're 5 weeks again of the show, and then 6 including SummerSlam, and then on top of it we are. I don't want to say restricting because I think it's still like pretty accurate, but we committed each to like only 5 matches per week. So then you're like figuring out, okay, like which storylines need a match, which ones don't need a match, and then the ones that don't need a match, how can I advance it? The one that do need the match, who am I putting in the matches? How does it end? What does it lead to? Because again, like if A happens, then B happens. It's not like, oh yeah, well like I can do A and then go to C and then I can go back to B. Like no, you can't do that with a lot of these things. And next thing you know, you're standing on your rooftop in the rain, cursing the sky.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Now, usually I would ask you, because this, of course, is your show today, so I just get to take a back seat and just enjoy what you have to spit out of your mouth. Usually I would say recap your show in some kind of length, but if people need a recap coming to this and they can't be bothered to go to the the past shows, don't recap. Let them go back.
Ooh,
if you're listening to this and this is the first time you're hitting the GM mode, go back.
Go back.
Or you can hit the bite-sized reviews that the first guest post. What the hell is the post? Guest post. Bo Ballas.
And also, if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, you're not going to get why Bo Ballas is a super funny thing that we say. So go back.
Bo Ballas, Cameron Graves. The first guest podcast to Project Dits is the Dowpod Observer, run by Justin, who is the host of the Worst Wrestling Podcast. That is the name of the podcast. That's not how I describe it. He does bite-sized episodes reviewing what we have done. So if you actually want a recap, that's actually probably the best way to go.
That it is.
So there you go. If you want a recap of Raw, that's where you go. But you'll fill the cracks in as you go through anyway. So do you want to get into it?
I guess.
You sound like a man who's keen.
I am extremely confident and not insecure whatsoever. I'm also like tired and so I'm like, well, I'll just bounce off. It's not like I can be like, oh, I'll play off Dits and we'll go from here. It's like, no, Anthony, you're going to speak for the next 45 minutes. Here we go.
Baby.
Ooh, dog. But yeah, I'm ready. Bo Ballas.
Cameron Graves. Took your jeep.
Yeah, hold on, you beat me to it. They took a jab.
We don't take kindly to your taps around here.
We don't take kindly to types who don't take kindly to people.
South Park.
Quality. Vintage South Park.
Vintage South Park. Anyway, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The floor is mine. Welcome to the A Show. That's right. That's a dig at SmackDown, 1,000%. But also, it's explanatory because my name begins with an A, so it's also maybe not an insult. It's just factual. We open with a video package recap of last week. We get to see some of the things that happened, what's going on in the AJ Styles world with Mustafa Ali and Finn Balor, and a bit of Shinsuke Nakamura. We see Io Shirai and how she dropped Asuka last week and just punched her cold out and attacked Kyrie with an umbrella. We see what's going on with Imperium. They were able to capture the tag team titles last week. That is, of course, Barthel and Eichner, adding to the gold that Walter already has, being the Universal Champ. So Imperium's got some gold. We see how Raw ended last week with the stare down between Rollins, Reigns, and Buddy Murphy and Imperium in the ring after Imperium won the tag team titles in the main event. We see Cesaro pressing Braun over his head and knocking him out cold as he drops him down and hits him with the European uppercut. We see Ricochet get attacked and Aleister Black get attacked by Reigns and Rollins and Buddy Murphy. We get a bit of some things. Get a bit of a recap of some things. Nice little video package. And then Raw starts. We get the nice intro.
slowly down again. Your enemy breaks loose from within, running from the feral beast. You fall prey as it begins to feast. You could be stronger than you'll ever know, so don't let go. Tell me why so many scars. The answers for which you're bleeding are right there where you are. Someone is waiting in the distance to heal you of your afflictions, if you only believe. Insanity.
Awesome theme song. Some people really like that. And then we get kind of like some voiceover recap from the commentary team, and we get the match card for a loaded Raw tonight. We are getting Andrade Cien Almas and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits in a tag team match. We're getting Finn Balor versus Mustafa Ali. We're getting AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander for the Intercontinental title.
Oh my.
Yep, a little bit. And we're getting Alexander Wolf of Imperium versus Cesaro. Only 4 matches announced, but yeah, we get a little peek into that world.
Yowza.
And then, yowza indeed. But the cards go away, the graphics go away, and Io Shirai's music hits. We're obviously all very intrigued to see what happened in her mental state after she attacked Asuka last week after their tag team victory over the Iconics. And of course, as she stared emotionless and just almost robotic-like at a fallen Asuka and a fallen Kyrie, and she yelled, "There can only be one." There's a lot of things going on, a lot of questions to be answered. So Io's music hits. We get that weird techno, villainy, European dance hall music that I imagine is the stuff they play in the clubs in like the Ukraine or the Czech Republic. Not that I've ever been there, but that's what I imagine it's like. Like the kind of stuff that they play. Io Shirai's music is like what they play in the clubs in the Blade movies. Like that the vampires all hang out in, especially in Blade 1 when they're in like Europe, like and all the vampires are dancing to. Even in Blade 2, like that's what Io's music is, and that's pretty cool because I like Blade. So her music hits. The entrance ramp is dark. The strobe lights start flashing, and the spotlight comes up, and there's Io.
She's now a vampire.
She's a vampire, and she's got a sword. It's Blades. She killed him. SummerSlam feud. There it is. She takes off her hood, does her little pose, but she's not alone. Standing next to Io Shirai is Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman and Io Shirai walk to the ring. And Heyman is vibing to Io's music. He loves it. He's a big European dance hall / Blade fan. He is rocking it. They walk into the ring. Crowd's losing their shit. Because of course. I feel like that's my tagline for this Raw. Like, because of course. Heyman has the mic and he introduces himself. Not that he needs an introduction. And he says, you know, he's a businessman and he's a good businessman. And good businessmen make sure that they have diversified portfolios. And he already represents the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, over on SmackDown. B-show. And in order to diversify... Come on, you son of a bitch. And in order to diversify that portfolio, you know, he's taken on another client. And that is why he now represents the best pound-for-pound women's wrestler on the planet, Io Shirai. That is the statement that he makes. Asuka's music hits. She comes out with a mic and just starts hardcore yelling at Io Shirai, all in Japanese. Io grabs the mic from Heyman. She starts yelling back in Japanese. They're just going at it verbally in Japanese, hardcore. Heyman grabs the mic from Io and calms her down, takes the mic back, tells her, like, kind of some things like, hey, listen, like, calm down. Like, that's what I'm here for. Relax. Like, you don't need to get into this argument, whatever you guys are arguing about. Like, calm down. And as Heyman starts to calm Io down and Asuka starts to calm down a bit, Asuka has made her way to the ring, so she's in the ring. Because they were just going at it verbally. Heyman separated him. He calms his client down. Again, he's protecting his client. Becky Lynch's music hits. And out comes Becky Lynch, a returning Becky Lynch to a massive ovation. I was excited to write this because I did not know that I got Becky Lynch on my roster, but I was informed of that after the draft, so I was very excited. So here comes Becky. Becky gets a mic. Crowd is hot, ridiculously hot. Chants for about 8-10 minutes. It's really dragging out the length of the show. I'm worried if I'm going to have to cut some time later for matches because the crowd is just, they're going nuts. Becky gets a mic, and she says the last time she checked, the man was the best pound-for-pound women's wrestler on the planet. Paul Heyman laughs, as he does. That smug, punchable face of Paul Heyman just yucking it up. And he starts talking back to Becky, and he tells her that a lot's changed since she left. Since the man became the mom, the world has kind of passed her by a little bit. She's, she may have been on top, but that's no longer the case. And he points to his current client. He says, she's the best pound-for-pound women's wrestler in the world. And Becky maintains that she never lost her title. She relinquished it because of her, motherly duties that she had to go through. And she wants that belt back. Crowd is super hyped. Paul Heyman also points out that his client, Io Shirai, never lost her NXT women's title either. When she left NXT, she also relinquished her title. So Becky's claim here is irrelevant, and so they kind of appear to be at an impasse. Becky cuts off Paul and says, no, there's no impasse. I'll make it simple for you. If Io Shirai can beat me, I will back off my claim to getting my rematch for the title that I never lost. Heyman finds this extremely intriguing, and he smiles with a kind of that wry smile, ooh, I like this. This is interesting. Puts the mic down. He whispers to Io. Io laughs and smiles. Heyman nods. He tells Becky, listen, you don't want to do that. You're a mother now. You should set an example for your child. And losing in front of the world is not the way to set an example for your child. Because that would make your child lose respect for you. And once you lose your child's respect, you can never get that back. Becky doesn't like this whatsoever. Becky takes much exception to this, and she tells Heyman to never talk about her child or anyone in her family ever again. She steps past Heyman, gets in Io's face, and point blank asks Io if she accepts her challenge. Io stares coldly into Becky's eyes, steps back, whispers to Paul Heyman. He nods. Io Shirai accepts. And we are confirmed next week on Raw, Becky Lynch versus Io Shirai in a #1 contenders match for the Raw Women's Championship.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, a little bit. Business picked up a bit. Asuka during this whole time is kind of going back and forth, realizing she's caught in the middle, but she's a fighting champion. She's cool with it either way. Go to commercial break. Snickers, is the commercial because they are the prime sponsor for Raw because, whatever. First match, when we come back from commercial break, Andrade Cien Almas. For the Spanish listeners out there, and for those who don't know, I'm bringing Andrade's full name back because his full name, Andrade Cien Almas, means Andrade 100 Souls. And that, of course, is in reference to in Lucha Libre, when you beat someone for their mask, you take their mask, and that's referenced as basically you took someone's soul. So he is Andrade 100 Souls because he has claimed the mask and soul of 100 wrestlers, and I think that name is badass as fuck, and so I'm bringing it back. So Andrade 100 Souls, for the English speakers out there, and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits. It's a very good match, intense, high energy, excitement, as the Street Profits always bring. But Almas and Garza get the win after they hit Montez Ford with a spiked hammerlock DDT, which is pretty sweet. So this finisher is Garza is going to pick up Ford, kind of like he's going to put him down and slam him for a spine buster. But then Almas comes up from behind, locks in that hammerlock position, and then they separate for a bit, and Garza has Ford's feet draped on his shoulders. Almas has him in that hammerlock DDT position, and then he spikes him down for the DDT. So it's basically like a high incline spiked hammerlock DDT. Pretty intense because that hammerlock DDT is already impactful on its own. Add a little bit of an incline, a little bit of a spike. Ford is out 1, 2, 3. So Almas and Garza beat the former tag team champions who lost their tag team titles last week to Imperium in our main event. After this match, after Garza and Almas celebrate in the ring, we start to get ready to go to commercial, and we see Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Buddy Murphy pulling up in a very nice, very expensive-looking limousine. Very nice limo. It's washed, it's clean, it's shiny. They come out as they did last week, and they're all black-on-black suits. You know, black coat, black pants, black tie, black shirt. Sunglasses again, because they're douches, and only douches wear sunglasses at night. And then we go to commercial break. We are back from commercial break, and Seth and Roman and Buddy have made their way to the ring. And Seth talks about how he keeps getting asked about last week, about confronting Imperium, and what did that mean, and why were they laughing, and what was going on. And Roman then gets on the mic and says, first of all, you know, as I said last week, we don't care what anybody here thinks, and we don't owe anybody an explanation, but we recognize you people are stupid, so we kind of want to lay it out a little bit for you. Reigns and Seth and Buddy, they're annoyed that people are making a big deal about Imperium, like as if Imperium are special, as if, you know, he and Seth and Buddy didn't also come from NXT and dominate and change the face of WWE and win titles and dominate their division. He mentions all the WrestleManias that he has main evented, that he beat The Undertaker. Seth mentions how he is the cash-in winner, the only person to ever cash in at a WrestleMania. Buddy Murphy talks about how he dominated the cruiserweight division. They talk about how they've been here doing things, and Imperium is just a flavor of the month. Buddy grabs the mic, and he really hits on that. Imperium are just a flavor of the month. They're nothing special. They're just regular dudes who dress alike and wear matching track tops and have tag titles and the Universal title, but those belts don't mean anything around their waist because those guys are irrelevant. Imperium's music hits, and Imperium comes out, stands on the entrance ramp. Walter has the mic, and he calls Seth and Roman and Buddy cowards. He tells them that they hide and they ambush individuals as a group because they are insecure about who they are as men. And as wrestlers, it's even worse, but as men, they are insecure. They have no honor. They have no prestige. They lack identity because they don't know who they are. They don't know themselves internally. This pisses Seth off. Roman's trying to calm him down. Seth is pissed. He says they've been carrying this company for years, long before anyone ever heard of Walter or Imperium. You guys are irrelevant. Walter says Imperium knows who they are. They have an identity. They have a code. They have honor. And they're champions not because they have championships, but because being a champion is a mindset. The reason they have those titles isn't because the titles make them. They make those titles because they are champions. And that's what they're here to do, is bring the prestige up of those belts, bring the prestige up of Raw. Roman interrupts Walter and tells Imperium that they think they're so much better than everyone, and they think they're better than Seth and him and Buddy, but they've done nothing. They've accomplished nothing. And he smiles, and he says, you know, you guys talked about honor, and you talked about your titles. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your honor, and we're going to take your titles so that you're left with nothing. And we can prove to everyone, even though everyone doesn't matter, but we can show everyone the imposters that you really are. And we're going to start with the tag team championships. He mentions that Alexander Wolf has a match tonight, so he doesn't count. He's out. He's booked. Walter, you know, they'll come for him when the time's right. But the tag team champs, they aren't booked, so they challenge Barthel and Eichner to a tag team match. And Barthel and Eichner immediately step right up. No fear. They accept the challenge. So tonight, in our main event, we will have Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns versus Imperium for the tag team championships. That's 2 weeks in a row that the tag team titles are going to main event Raw because those belts fucking mean something now. Commercial break. This commercial is for Viagra because they threw a bunch of money at me to make them a sponsor, so why not? Second match, Finn Balor versus Mustafa Ali with AJ Styles on commentary. This week, AJ invited himself out to commentary. Last week, he was invited out to Mustafa Ali's match by Mustafa Ali, but this week, AJ came of his own volition because he hates both Balor and Ali, and he mentions how they both slapped him last week for no reason. He's just trying to be, respectful, kind, leader of the Raw locker room, and he keeps getting slapped by these nobodies, and he's sick of it. So he's out here to scout both of them, because what he's decided to do, because he's a man of the people, and because he's a nice guy, he says he's going to give an Intercontinental title shot at SummerSlam to the winner of this match between Finn Balor and Mustafa Ali. He's already cleared it with management, a.k.a. me, but that was backstage because I'm not about to put myself on the fucking show like some other people. And so he's out here to scout these two guys, even though they both suck and they can't measure up to him. But, he's out here because he's going to do his due diligence as a champion, plus give the people something to look forward to. Even though he's wrestling later on in the card, he figures more AJ Styles equals better ratings, and that's what he was brought on to do. So good quality stuff from AJ, and I agree. He would have been my first pick, so I second that. So, AJ, you get more face time. Really good match between these two. They go all out. Ali has multiple chances to put Balor away, but he just cannot connect. He comes so close, multiple near falls, just can't put Balor away, And the match ends with Finn Balor hitting Mustafa Ali with the 1916, a.k.a. the Bloody Sunday. I'm calling it Bloody Sunday because that's a better name, and I like that better. Finn Balor wins after he stares down AJ and does his patented Bullet Club gun trigger fingers at AJ. Exactly, you got it. He nails it, points to him, does his little half squat, points to AJ, pulls the triggers on his trigger fingers, leaves the ring. Mustafa Ali is still in the ring. He's distraught. He's been told for multiple weeks that he sucks, that he's a nobody, that nobody respects him. He beat Rey Mysterio last week and then was berated by AJ Styles on national television. He's distraught. He grabs a mic. He challenges AJ Styles to an Intercontinental title match next week on Raw. AJ bursts out laughing. Just bursts out laughing like he has at Ali every single week and tells him he hasn't earned a title shot. He beat a 94-year-old cruiserweight last week, and then he gave him an opportunity this week. All he had to do was beat Finn Balor, who sucks, and he could have had an Intercontinental title shot at SummerSlam. But he didn't, so he gets nothing. He hasn't earned a title shot. Ali says, fine, make it a non-title match. AJ says, no, you haven't earned a title shot. You haven't even earned a non-title shot, so I still say no. AJ goes to walk away. Ali yells into the mic and says, if you beat me next week, I'll retire. That's how desperate he is to get his hands on AJ, prove his worth. AJ turns back around. His interest is piqued. AJ wants to clarify. He says, let me get this straight. So you and me, next week, in a non-title match, I beat you, and you retire. That's it. That's the stipulation. That's it. Ali says yes. But if he beats AJ, he gets added to the Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam, and we have ourselves a triple threat match. AJ says at this point, he's sick of Ali every week. He hates him, and he sucks. So if adding that stipulation allows him to make this match happen, he's in, because there's no way Mustafa Ali is beating him. He's going to retire him next week, and that's it. And he doesn't have to see him and his stupid mask and his stupid shiny hand lights ever again. So we got a match next week. AJ Styles versus Mustafa Ali, non-title. If Ali loses, he retires. If Ali wins, he gets added to the Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam. Commercial break. Third match, Alexander Wolf of Imperium versus Cesaro. Hard-hitting, fast-paced match, intense. Wolf has really stepped it up recently, and ever since he really joined Imperium, he's a super underrated member of the group. But much like Cesaro's match against Braun, Cesaro has just reinvented himself. A lot of strikes, a lot of hard-hitting, impactful moves, slams, strikes, pointed attacks on joints and extremities. It's a good match. Cesaro wins via working the leg of Alexander Wolf for much of this match, and he taps Wolf out in the sharpshooter. So he won last week by knocking out Braun Strowman with that press into a European uppercut. This week he wins via submission. Cesaro finishes the match and he heads backstage. Charlie Caruso grabs him as he's headed backstage. So he asks him, when you came on Raw, when you debuted, you mentioned that this was a new start for you, a fresh start for you, and that you were tired of waiting for opportunities and you were going to take everything. How do you feel these last couple weeks, after you won back-to-back matches and after you made that statement on your first Raw? Cesaro says he feels great. In fact, he feels invincible. He beat the former Universal Champion last week in Braun Strowman. And this week, he beat the right hand of the current champion, Walter. And because he feels so invincible, he's laying out a challenge. And since he knows Walter is a man of honor, he feels he will accept. He challenges Walter to a title match for the Universal title next week on Raw. And then he walks away from Charlie Caruso. And Charlie does her patented raised eyebrow stare of like, oh, that was interesting and what just happened in this interview. Patented. Classic Charlie, vintage Charlie, commercial break. Fourth match, we're back from commercial break. AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander for the Intercontinental title. This match is the match of the night. Cedric Alexander, super underrated wrestler, guy who I have personally seen wrestle in person in Ring of Honor. Awesome dude. Great match. AJ wins this match in a pretty cool finish, and I say pretty cool because I wrote it, and obviously I wouldn't write it if I thought it was shitty. Cedric has AJ up for the lumbar check, and as he goes to flip AJ into it, so Cedric drops down to the ground like he does, puts his knees up, but AJ lands on his feet. And with Cedric lying on the ground and prone, AJ locks in the calf crusher. Wrenches it back, has Cedric in it for almost about a minute, but Cedric manages to get to the rope and break the hold. But at this point, the damage is done. Cedric is basically immobile. He gets hit with an intense running lariat from AJ Styles. And a lariat, for the folks listening, just in case you didn't know, is different than a clothesline. A clothesline is when you stick your arm out and someone runs into your arm. A lariat is when your arm does the running into of another person. So it's a lariat. AJ clotheslines the shit out of Cedric, turns him inside out, hits the Styles Clash. 1, 2, 3. AJ retains his title. He celebrates with the title. And then he looks back at Cedric, and he locks the calf crusher back in. And as he does it, he's yelling at the camera, "This will be you, Mustafa. This is you, Ali. I'm going to end you next week. You're done. You retire." Wrenching back on the calf crusher as multiple refs have to come out to pry AJ off. AJ eventually relents, grabs his title, walks out, smirking as he does, as he has these last several weeks. Pretty intimidating message to Mustafa Ali. Commercial. Back from commercial break. Our main event. Fifth match of the night. The tag team titles. Barthel, Eichner, Rollins, Reigns. Tag team title match. 2 members of the former Shield. Big match. Imperium enters first. And they await the challengers. Before Rollins and Reigns enter, we get a video feed backstage. And we are in the limo with Buddy Murphy. And he's in the back seat. And he's frantically digging around in the back seats. Freaking out. Finally, he pulls his cell phone out of the back seat. And he, got it. Thought I lost my phone. Knows he has to get to the ring to support his buddies. No pun intended. Buddy got to support his buddies. Goes to open the door to the limo. But the door doesn't open. So then he tries the other door. The other door is also locked. He keeps pulling on the handle, and he can't unlock the door. So he's yelling, "Driver, unlock the door. Driver, you stupid, idiot, open the door. I'm locked in back here." What the hell with this driver? He's just yelling. Can't get out of the limo. The partition to the driver, the window, the little automatic window that the limo driver can roll down or roll up at their leisure. The driver partition rolls down, and we hear, in a very intimidating voice, "Buddy, buddy, buddy." And Murphy looks up towards the partition, and his eyes get extremely wide. Because in the driver's seat is Samoa Joe. Meanwhile, Seth and Roman have entered the ring for their tag team title match, and as the bell rings, Buddy Murphy comes flying through the curtain / entrance, whatever you want to call it now. So he comes through the little spot where the wrestlers come out towards the ramp. I recognize there's no curtain now, but you know what I fucking mean. Buddy comes flying through the curtain and is just laying there on the top of the entrance ramp, unconscious, limp, no motion, no movement. Seth and Roman are looking at each other. They got no idea what the hell is going on, and his buddy lays there unconscious. Samoa Joe walks out very slowly. And then after Samoa Joe walks out, he is followed by Aleister Black and Ricochet. And they are less than pleased because for the past 2 weeks, they have been beaten to shit and ambushed regularly by Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Buddy Murphy. Samoa Joe wasn't even on last week's show because he was recovering after being shield bombed through the announce table last week. Ricochet suffered that same, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, for Samoa Joe. Ricochet suffered that same fate last week, and Aleister Black was jumped in the locker room before Ricochet was jumped, so these men are rightfully pissed. They head down to the ring. Rollins and Reigns, much to their credit, they leave the ring and they meet Joe and Aleister Black and Ricochet head on, and they start brawling on the entrance ramp. They fight briefly, but Rollins and Reigns, bail. They're veterans, like they've mentioned. They're smart. They've been in a lot of wars. They recognize they do not have an advantage here, and they are at the disadvantage. They bail. They live to fight another day, lose the battle to win the war. They take off. They realize they're outnumbered. In the ring, Imperium, Barthel and Eichner, they stand unfazed, kind of just looking disgustingly at the chaos going on in the entrance ramp. And suddenly they are jumped from behind by Andrade 100 Souls and Angel Garza. And they get beat to shit. Until Walter runs down to make the save for his buddies, Almas and Garza. They scatter. They don't want any part of the Universal Champ. Nobody wants any parts of the Universal Champ because he's fucking awesome. They scatter. Walter checks in on his buddies, stands tall, crowd cheers. When Cesaro hops the barricade from the crowd and chop blocks the shit out of Walter's knee, takes down the champ, Garza and Almas run back into the ring, continue the beatdown on Barthel and Eichner. They hit the spiked hammerlock DDT that they did earlier to Montez Ford on the tag team champions. Both of them take him out. Cesaro locks Walter in the sharpshooter in order to wrench back on that knee that he just chop blocked the hell out of. He's wrenching back. Alexander Wolf eventually runs down to the ring. He just had a match a little while ago. He's in no shape to fight, but he runs down, clears the ring. Garza and Andrade make their way up the ramp. Cesaro leaves back to the crowd. And as they do that, Alexander Wolf tends to his Imperium group mates in the ring. Barthel and Eichner are heavily dazed. They're up, but they look concussed. They look like they're out of it. And Wolf checks in on Walter, the ring general, the leader, the Universal Champ, who is clutching his knee ferociously, writhing in pain as the credits roll and Monday Night Raw Episode 3 ends.
Very good.
A lot of dialogue in that one.
I mean, you saw the smile on my face when you said Samoa Joe. Like,
yes.
I like the chaos of that final segment. It's very good. It's very sports entertaining. That's something I would showcase on SmackDown, to be completely honest. I like it.
Sometimes you gotta push that narrative a little bit, and the in-ring work can speak for itself. Again, my show, it's a sport in the ring. It's the art and the sport of professional wrestling, but storytelling is very important. You need some theatrics. You need some sports entertainment. So yeah, I dipped into that Dits SmackDown script and screenplay a bit and tried to bring some sports entertainment here to further things along.
I like there's a lot of crossed wires as well.
Yes.
I mean, you did say to me that you've booked, I mean, I can't remember if you said it on here or like before we start recording, but you've booked yourself into a position where you can kind of go anywhere you want at this point. I like that.
Yes.
It's smart booking.
There's certain things on this card. So again, we've got the 5 matches for SummerSlam each. So a 10-match card. And I've got my 5 matches. 1, 2, 3 of them are pretty concrete in terms of, like, they're definitely going to happen, and I know pretty much how they're all going to get there. 2 of them are related to each other, and I can take them in one direction, not the music group. I can take them in one direction and combine some things, or I could leave them on the original course that I had charted and have them be separate. And that's what that booking decision is that you mentioned. That's the big thing. I can kind of go one direction, Harry Styles, with a thought I have, or I can stay the original course. I'm genuinely very and legitimately torn on it. And the fact that this show ended up where I can go either way, I'm happy with. But next week I have to I have to pick one. I'm not gonna be able to do the dance anymore. Next week I cross the Rubicon, much like Julius Caesar, and hit my point of no return, and I have to decide. And I'm super torn. Like, legitimately, I don't know what I want to see more. I think for the rounding out of the card, one option is better. But for what this other thing could be, that would be better. It's tough, man. I'm really torn. I'm super fucking torn.
Flip a coin.
Flip a coin. Super torn. But yeah, I'm happy with this one was a tough one. And yeah, this episode was the drywall and the walls and the framing of the house. But I like the way it came together. I've got some more surprises for next week in order to kind of solidify things and really confirm the direction we're going in for all these things, to really show where we're going. Still got a lot of toss-ups. You know, Becky and Io is a big thing. Mustafa Ali and AJ, what happens with him? You know, does he get in? Does he not? Does he retire? If he retired, that would probably help me out so I can thin my roster out a little bit, because I've got way too many people that I have to book that I like. And yeah, what's going to happen with Imperium and Rollins and Reigns and Murphy and Joe and Alistair and Ricochet? There's a lot of intertwinement, a lot of drama.
A lot of stuff going on. And it feeds into the fact that we only have the 5 weeks.
Yes, it does.
As you can see that. And you will see that on SmackDown on Friday as well.
I could have slow burned things a little more, but you can't slow burn when you've only got 5 weeks of a show to get to a pay-per-view, and one of those weeks is coming off of a draft, and you have to reestablish everything.
Yeah, that didn't help either.
No, that did not.
But then it would have been interesting. We would have been stuck with those shitty rosters that...
Yeah, I don't want that.
Or especially me. If I got SmackDown, I'd be seen off massively.
You'd be fucked. The only thing I would have guaranteed, just out of spite for you, is I would have taken the belt off Drew and then not given him any matches.
You bastard.
You
bastard. How
yeah,
could you?
How could you?
How could you?
Yeah, I like how this one shaped out.
It was good. You had
I watched you pop a little bit. I watched the Paul Heyman. Okay, Paul Heyman with Io Shirai, the Samoa Joe part, the fighting with even Andrade and Garza coming out at the end to attack Imperium. Yeah, I saw several facial expressions. I think pretty much all my segments they all elicited a response from you in some way that I found ideal. So yeah, I think I'm
gonna stop appearing on camera. I'm giving away all my tells. Which is just me smiling, which is an obvious tell, but that's by the by.
I can hear your smile through the mic, even if you weren't on video, so I know. A good first mate always knows. Beaming. Yeah, a good first mate always knows the tendencies of his captain.
Very true. That is very true.
So that I can kill you and overthrow you and take over the ship.
Oh.
I've been studying your every move.
What 1 year from now, like, it is just you. Project Anthony.
Oh my god, he did it.
Anthony on wrestling.
Anthony on YouTube.
Anton wrestling.
Yeah, that's it.
Anton and on gaming.
You just take over the whole thing seamlessly. Yeah, man. Mutiny is a little coup d'etat.
Fuck's sake, I'm gonna have to come up with some kind of American football / hockey hybrid podcast.
I'll kill you.
To fill the void.
I'll kill you.
Not that I would know what I was talking about.
I know, right?
I'll talk about the NHL and Madden games.
Can you name me 5 teams in the NHL?
Sabres.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to throw out like random animals just in the hopes of like the Tigers.
The Red Wings.
Yep. Ooh, 2.
Ooh.
Okay. Do you know what city the Red Wings play in?
Detroit.
Okay, nice. Okay. We got 2. I'm impressed.
This is like a little.
Go ahead.
Oh.
No quiz.
It is like a little.
I
quiz.
did
like it.
not think you'd even get one other than the Sabres. So I'm impressed already. But can you get 4 more? Ooh, the Detroit Red Wings.
Absolutely
Buffalo
not.
Sabres. Can you get 3 more? 2 more? 1 more?
The Minnesota Vikings.
Ooh, NFL.
Damn.
That's football.
Damn.
There is a hockey team from Minnesota though.
Oh.
You're never gonna get it.
There's got to be a New York one, hasn't there? There's got to be.
There's 2 New York ones.
It's not the Knicks. That's basketball.
Nope, that's basketball.
Basketball, yeah. Titans? Is there a Titans?
That's football. That's the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, good God.
You're close though. These are all American at least.
Oh. I'm trying to picture like every sitcom based in New York
I know, right?
that has gone to hockey games.
I was gonna say you should have known. Friends had the hockey team on a bunch.
That's what I'm thinking.
They go to multiple games. Chandler, Joey, and Ross. They try to go to one. They try to take Ross to one after to cheer him up after he breaks up with Susan. Chandler's wearing the jersey on the street. There's also a New Jersey team. That team features in a couple episodes of Seinfeld.
Nah, I'm not even gonna. My brain will hurt. Go on.
The London Wasps. No, fair enough.
Would have got that.
No. Fair enough. Well, you're not a hockey guy. It's fair enough.
Yeah. Maybe I'll focus on basketball instead.
Yeah, you can do that.
Name 5 basketball teams.
I was going to say, can you name 5 basketball teams?
Oh, okay. Portland Trailblazers.
Oh, all right, 1.
Toronto Raptors.
Okay.
The Utah Saints.
Nope.
Damn it.
There's a team from Utah. They are not the Saints.
Shit, that's for Chicago Bulls.
Yep, there you go. That's 3.
The Lakers.
There you go.
The Phoenix Suns.
Oh, he did it. This is what this podcast is going to be now. It's just going to be me picking American sports and asking you to name teams.
Yeah.
Love it.
I feel so alive. Anyway, that was a great Raw.
Yeah.
That was a good
I liked
Raw.
it. I think it came together well. I was stressed, like I mentioned. Again, I'm still fuck. I don't want to have to pick but I think I know what I have to do for the good of the show. Which is still a cool thing. It's still something I really like, but there's another thing that I could do for the good of me.
Ooh.
We'll see what happens.
See what happens.
See what happens.
See, now I have to match your momentum this Friday with my booking.
Yeah, you do. I think I've generated. That's not a word. I think I've generated. Yikes! A lot of momentum with this one. I think I'm headed in a good direction. I like it. I hope the fans agree. But yeah, I would. I like it. I think that you being worried about having your hands full or that you have to match that momentum makes me feel good about my show.
Yeah, you should be.
And I
happy
had to
with
match
your
yours.
show.
You had a very good show last week. Everything that happened in that cage match. What happened with
Yes.
Brock attacking Riddle. There's a lot of things going on.
Ooh, it all advances this week, my friend.
Going on with Bray Wyatt, rocking chairs, and Cameron Grimes.
Oh, you want to tune in Friday to see what goes on with Bray Wyatt and rocking chairs and shit.
Fucking do. I mean, you don't, but like you do, I guess.
You do. You really do. But to get there, we have to finish this episode. So, plug your sport-y type podcasts.
Yeah, sporty
Slash
stuff. That's
one.
me. I am Anthony. I am the host of the Sporty Stuff podcast. Find me here.
Please change the name to that.
Yeah, right. That makes me really good. The Sporty Podcast.
Sporty Stuff Podcast.
I want to turn sports into a verb. Hey guys, you want to go out and sports with me? Are you down to just like sports your fucking face off? Yeah, it's me. I'm Anthony. I am the co-host here on the Dow Pod every week, talking wrestling. Dits' #1 enemy, blood feud, as we engage in this GM mode fantasy booking special. Find me on Twitter at @wagons_warpass. And the reason that is my Twitter handle is because as Dits mentioned, whoa, language, tired, yikes. I am the host of a sporty podcast titled the Wagons and Warpaths podcast. It is a Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres weekly Buffalo sports talk podcast. The Wagons is in reference to the Buffalo Bills. The Warpaths is in reference to the Sabres. If you want to find out more details about that, feel free to tweet at me or just Google it on the old internet. Find all my episodes on Apple iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Feel out. Yo, I'm falling apart. Feel free to reach out to me at any point on Twitter Mobile Allison, Cameron Graves. Tweet at me, DM me, give me a follow, or your firstborn kid, whichever one is easier. I'm also down for Rumpelstiltskin-like trades. Pretty much anything. I love a good deal and a good bargain. That's me. I love the art of negotiation. And yeah, that's it. That's
Beautiful.
me in a nutshell.
Amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. And apparently Dits tells me that my podcast is really good to listen to while you clean the house. So
Facts.
if that's your bag,
Facts.
do it.
Do it.
Still trying to figure out if that's a compliment or an insult. But
Especially
either way,
when you're hoovering / vacuuming.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know
there
what
you
you call it, because then you can't actually hear the pod, which is even better.
do you say you're still hoovering? Oh, well, I heard that. That was hurtful. Are you? Do you still call it? Do you still call it hoovering if you're not using a Hoover?
Yes.
So even if you're just vacuuming with a non-Hoover branded vacuum, it's called hoovering.
Get the Hoover out, yeah.
That's stupid. I'm glad we seceded from the Queen's country all those years ago. Well, you know what's funny? My fiance and I were talking. This episode's never going to end, but we were talking about things like that earlier in the week, like things that are referred to by a specific name, like or a brand instead of the actual act. Like if you're looking something up on the internet, instead of saying like, "Oh, I'm going to look this up," you're going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to Google it," whether or not you're actually using Google or
Bing it.
Yep, you can Bing it, but nobody's fucking saying that. Or like, if you're grabbing like a tissue, like one of the popular brands is Kleenex. So many people say like, "Oh, pass me a Kleenex," even though it's not Kleenex. It's just like a tissue. But nobody says like, "Oh, hand me a tissue," or like a facial tissue, and little things like that. And hoovering is a British one that I was not aware of. So that's fun to add to the list.
Do some hoovering.
Learn something. Yeah, do some hoovering. I thought you were going to say you were hovering, but like you just pronounced it like that's how the English pronounce it. And I was like, "Oh, you can float. That's cool."
Well, SmackDown GM, I can do what I want.
You can like put yourself in every episode and every feud, and also insult me in my podcast and hurt my feelings. Apparently,
Sorry about that. I do apologize.
we've rambled. I feel like you should plug your stuff.
I can actually. You can find me on Twitter at Project Dits, which is my new direction for my branding, which features Dits on YouTube, here, Dits on Wrestling, and my Dits on Gaming podcast, which is due out any day now.
Ooh,
So just
a lot of
wait
things
for
in the
that
works
one
for
to
this
drop.
man. It's very busy.
Yes. And yeah, go over to Dits on YouTube and subscribe, because all these podcast episodes are there, as well as gaming and wrestling content as well. So go do that. That's really it. Live streams every week, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then pay-per-views. And yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
And this week you'll find me live streaming NXT, and then giving you my fantasy booking of SmackDown Night 3. And until then, I will see you later. Anthony, say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.